Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something really fundamental. We're looking at some incredible source material that takes on the age-old challenge of organizational design.
Yeah, this is a big one. We're doing a deep dive into how the best companies in the world connect their customer-facing operations, what we'd call the front office, with their operational backbone, the engine room, really.
The back office, or the value chain, as our source calls it.
Exactly.
And our mission for this deep dive is to unpack a really powerful framework.
Yeah.
It argues that we have to stop seeing customer experience or CX and the value chain as separate things.
Right, not as a sequence where one hands off to the other.
No, it says they are, and this is the core metaphor, two sides of the same coin. And the argument isn't just about making things run a bit smoother. The claim is that when you truly integrate them, the value you create is, well, it's exponential.
It is. And the framework gives us a way to prove that. It provides a really clear, measurable connection between what it calls a perfect customer interaction and this idea of integrated fulfillment.
Okay, so how do we measure that?
It all centers around three specific executive-level KPIs, key performance indicators. And they form this kind of closed strategic loop that ties everything back to the bottom line.
So we're talking about real business outcomes.
Absolutely. Things like accelerating your revenue growth, sustaining a high operating margin, and of course, enhancing customer retention. So we're going to unpack what a truly perfect experience actually means and, how you measure that perfection across the entire life of the organization.
That sounds like a pretty fundamental shift in how businesses should be structured and, I guess, how they should measure themselves. Okay, let's get into it. Before we even touch the metrics, we have to understand the foundation. What exactly does this framework mean by customer experience and the integrated value chain?
Right. So the white paper starts immediately with that core metaphor you mentioned. The customer and the company, they coexist. They're inseparable, just like two sides of the same coin.
And that's not just a nice phrase, is it? It's a mandate. It's saying total organizational alignment is the only way to operate.
It really is. It has profound implications.
So if a customer is feeling any friction at all, a delay, a confusing bill, anything, that friction is a direct signal. It's a diagnostic tool telling you that somewhere inside your company, a process is broken or siloed.
Exactly. It forces you to look at the business as one whole thing, not a collection of departments.
Okay, so let's define the first side of that coin. Customer experience, the front office. How broad is that definition?
It's very broad. It's definitely not just the people answering the phone or the sales team. In this framework, it covers 7 key business domains and processes, basically everything that defines how the organization talks to and sells to the market.
7 domains. Okay, let's define those boundaries. What are they?
So it starts at the strategic level.
Yeah.
The first 2 are foundational. You have the go-to-market strategy itself, and then you have the leadership that's actually driving that strategy.
Which makes total sense. If the strategy is promising, say, hyperfast delivery, but the leadership isn't investing in logistics.
The CX is already confused. The promise is broken before you even start.
Okay, so strategy and leadership. Then we get into the more traditional functions, I assume.
We do. The next core areas are sales, service, and marketing functions. These are your daily interaction points, the teams responsible for bringing people in, closing the deal, and fixing problems when they arise.
The table stakes, really. But getting them aligned is the whole game.
It is. But today, a customer's first interaction isn't usually with a person.
No, it's digital.
Exactly. And that's why the 5th domain is e-commerce channels. This is everything, your website, your app, any digital or omni-channel or even self-service interaction.
That area has to be the most critical bridge, right? It's a sales channel, but it's also a fulfillment system. You're making your request to the back office the second you click add to cart.
You've hit on the highest leverage touch point. It's where the two sides of the coin meet most visibly.
Okay, so that's 5. The last 2 must be about enabling all of that.
Correct. Number 6 is customer data management. This is the lifeblood of the whole thing. How are we storing customer information? Is it clean? Can everyone access it? And number 7 is proactive customer success initiatives.
So that's not just waiting for a problem. It's things like onboarding programs, loyalty schemes, maybe preemptive support.
All of that. And the goal, the source says, is that when all 7 of these domains are working together perfectly, you get what it calls a unified one-office experience.
It's a unified one-office experience. I like that. So for the customer, there's no visible handoff. There's no, oh, that's a different department. It just
It
works.
just works.
That sets a pretty high bar for the customer promise.
Hmm.
So now, let's flip the coin. That unified promise has to be fulfilled by the company's internal engine, the back office. So what domains make up this integrated value chain?
The value chain is all about delivery. It focuses on 5 crucial downstream domains that are responsible for the physical and the financial delivery of what was promised.
This is where the physics of the business live.
Yeah.
Making sure the thing is where it's supposed to be when it's supposed to be there.
Exactly. And the first, most immediate domain is order fulfillment. This gets into the really granular details. Is the pricing accurate? Do we have real-time visibility into our inventory? How is the initial logistics managed? This is the immediate reaction to a sale.
And then zooming out a bit from a single order.
You get to the second domain, which is the broader supply chain operations. This includes things like planning and forecasting, warehouse management systems, or WMS, and managing that crucial final mile delivery process. This is all about predicting, storing, and moving stuff efficiently.
Okay, and for any business that deals with big physical equipment, I'm thinking telcos, utilities, heavy manufacturing, there's a third piece that's absolutely critical.
For sure, and that's asset management. This is huge for managing the health and service life of the products or infrastructure the company owns or manages after the sale,
So it links directly back to service contracts, maintenance agreements.
which feeds right back into long-term value, which we'll get to.
Okay, and then we have the financial side of the relationship, which, can be surprisingly fragile.
Oh, it's a huge friction point, and that's domain number 4, finance, billing, and invoicing. I mean, we've all had that experience, right? You're delighted with the service, and then you get a 4-page bill that's impossible to understand, or it's just plain wrong.
And all that goodwill just evaporates instantly.
Instantly, poor financial execution is a high-friction zone that will absolutely tank your customer experience and retention.
Okay, and the fifth domain feels very modern. It reflects this idea that the value chain is responsible for more than just speed and cost now.
It is. The 5th is sustainability efforts. This is increasingly baked into the supply chain. We're talking about circular economy initiatives, tracking your carbon footprint through the logistics network, ensuring ethical sourcing, managing product end of life.
And that's not just a PR exercise. It actually impacts fulfillment metrics, like how you process returns or manage assets.
It does. It reinforces that connection between operational efficiency and customer trust.
So we have 7 CX domains on one side, 5 value chain domains on the other. It's immediately obvious that trying to manage the handoffs between all 12 of these manually it's impossible.
It's a recipe for disaster.
This has to have a unified technological backbone. How does the source outline the architecture you need to glue these two sides of the coin together?
Yeah, the tech stack is critical, and it's not just a collection of different systems. It has to be thought of as an integrated organism. Information has to flow instantly, without friction, across all those departmental boundaries. The source identifies 3 key layers to this stack.
Okay, let's start with the tools that the customer, or at least the agent, is touching directly, the front office enablers.
Right. These are the specialized platforms built for interaction. So you have your customer relationship management, or CRM, systems for the sales and service agents. You have your marketing automation, or MarTech, platforms for campaigns and communication.
And the e-commerce platform.
And the dedicated e-commerce and omni-channel platforms that manage that whole digital purchasing and self-service experience. These systems are all about capturing and executing the immediate interaction.
But for those systems to be smart, for a sales rep to know that, say, a product is delayed in transit before they promise a delivery date, you need a unified view of the data.
And that is where the second layer, the data backbone, comes in. And honestly, this is where most companies really struggle with fragmentation.
So what's in this layer?
This layer has to include customer data platforms, CDPs, which are absolutely essential for bringing together a customer's identity, their preferences, and their behavior from all those different touch points. It also needs strong identity management tools and, of course, big data or data science platforms to find the patterns and create predictive insights.
It's probably worth clarifying the difference there. The CRM might tell you what transaction happened.
Right.
But the CDP tells you who that person is across all your systems, what your preferences are, and how they behaved on your website, your app, and in their service history. You really need both.
You absolutely need both. The CDP is what links all those fragmented transactions from the CRM, the MarTech, the e-commerce platform, and it creates that single view of the customer that everyone's always talking about.
And the final layer must be the glue, the connective tissue.
It is. The integration and insight layer. This is where you have your enterprise integration suites, which are mandatory to make sure the data flows reliably between the front and back office, and, crucially, your analytics suites. The analytics are what turn all that combined data into insights you can actually use in real time.
So this integrated architecture, it's the bridge. It takes you from a philosophical idea of alignment to something you can actually measure.
Exactly. It's what allows us to move seamlessly to the 3 core KPIs.
Okay, let's look at the engine of this whole framework then. It's one thing to define the architecture, but you have to prove the business value. And the source claims that the value of this deep integration is proven by consistently improving 3 specific board-level KPIs. This is the closed-loop strategy.
Right. And these 3 metrics are specifically designed to measure the health of the entire coin. They link customer sentiment, operational execution, and long-term financial stability all together.
Let's list them out just so we're clear.
Okay, number 1, Customer Net Promoter Score, or NPS. This is your measure of advocacy. It tells you how likely a customer is to recommend you. It's about sentiment and intent.
Okay, sentiment. What's number 2?
Number 2, Perfect Order Rate, or POR. This is the measure of operational fulfillment excellence. It tells you if your value chain delivered exactly what was promised. It measures the quality of your execution.
The sentiment and execution. And number 3?
Number 3 is Customer Lifetime Value, or CLV. This measures your long-term revenue potential and your success at retention. It's the financial payoff. It measures sustainability.
What's really interesting about this framework is that it insists you have to optimize all 3 at the same time. You can't just focus on one.
You can't.
So, for example, if you boost your NPS with amazing marketing, but your perfect order rate is terrible because you can't deliver, you just burn through customer relationships and your CLV will completely tank.
It's a cyclical relationship, and it's mutually reinforcing. A high POR means fewer problems, which leads directly to a higher NPS.
And a high NPS drives word of mouth and retention.
Which is the foundation for a strong CLV. And that whole cycle fuels growth, which then allows you to invest back into better operational tech, which helps you sustain a high operating margin. It all feeds itself.
So if we think about it with an analogy, the 3 KPIs, NPS, PR, and CLV, are like the engine, the drive shaft, and the fuel tank of a car. They have to be interlocked.
That's a great way to put it.
The engine NPS might be running hot, showing great customer sentiment. But if the drive shaft's your POR, your fulfillment, if that's broken, the car doesn't move.
And you're going nowhere. And if the fuel tank, your CLV, is empty because you're not retaining customers for the long term, the whole system just stalls out.
Yeah.
That analogy perfectly captures why looking at them in isolation just misses the whole point. It misses the synergy. Historically, companies measured these in silos, right? Marketing owned NPS, operations owned POR, and finance owned CLV.
And they probably didn't talk to each other very much.
Rarely. This integrated framework forces accountability across all those departments. It makes everyone recognize that a fulfillment error, a POR failure, is also a marketing problem because it damages advocacy, and it's a finance problem because it reduces long-term revenue.
Okay, so let's dive deep into that first metric, measuring sentiment and advocacy with NPS. The core question is so simple. How likely are you to recommend our company, our product, our brand to others? But the source argues that just calculating one big overall NPS score is not enough. It's a trap. Why is that single macro number so insufficient?
Because a single NPS score is almost always a lagging indicator, and it often masks really deep systemic problems. You might have, say, a 70% retention rate in one product line that's giving you a really high score overall.
That you're hiding something else.
You're hiding a catastrophic failure in your billing process for a different product line that you're just not measuring. So the overall number looks okay, but it's hiding all these specific points of failure inside the value chain.
So the goal has to be to shift NPS from just being a report card on what already happened to being a real-time management tool, a way to diagnose operational problems. How do we get that kind of granularity?
You have to measure NPSS across the entire customer experience and value chain lifecycle. The white paper is really specific about this. It highlights 10 specific stages where you need to be checking in on sentiment.
10 stages.
10 checkpoints. And these allow you to pinpoint exactly which domain. Is it sales? Is it logistics? Is it service? Is it finance? Which one is causing the friction?
Okay, let's walk through these 10 stages. I think it's important to pay attention to the high friction points because this is where that back office value chain really becomes visible to the customer.
For sure. So we start at the very beginning, stage 1. When the customer is marketed to, was the message relevant? Did the ads set expectations that you can actually meet?
Right. And stage two, the initial visit. This could be your website, your app, or walking into a store. Was it easy to find what you were looking for? Was the interface clean?
Then the sales interaction starts. Stage 3, the interaction with a sales rep or a service agent. Were they knowledgeable? And this is critical. Did that agent have real-time inventory and pricing data from the back office?
Because an agent making a promise that the company can't keep, there's a massive failure of integration right there.
It's an immediate NPS drop. Then stage 4 is the purchasing process itself. How smooth was checkout? Were the payment options easy?
Okay, and now we get to a really big friction point that I think a lot of companies overlook.
This one is huge. Stage 5, the wait time between completing the purchase and receiving the delivery. This period is purely psychological for the customer.
It's the black box period.
It is. And if the company fails to proactively communicate, status updates, shipment tracking, expectation management, even if the delivery is technically on time, the customer's sentiment just plummets. Poor communication here is a dead giveaway of a fragmented office.
That makes so much sense. The customer isn't even upset about the delivery time itself. They're upset about the silence.
Yeah.
And that's a communication failure driven by a lack of integrated logistics data flowing to the front office.
Exactly. Then we get to the ultimate moment of truth. Stage 6. The actual moment of delivery or receipt of the product or service. Was it on time? Was the packaging secure? Was the installation seamless? This is where the back office promise is either fully delivered or completely broken.
And what about when things go wrong? The moment of failure or need?
That's stage 7, when support is needed or returns or renegotiation occur. A difficult return process, slow refunds, a confusing self-service portal. These things directly attack loyalty.
And then the financial side again.
Stage 8 focuses on that. Billing, invoicing, or subscription charges. An accurate, easy-to-read, predictable invoice is an act of service. A confusing bill feels like an act of aggression.
Stage 9, you said, is the real diagnostic tool, the one that points to systemic failure.
It is. Stage 9 is all about escalations. This measurement focuses specifically on moments when the integrated system has already failed. This could be a hugely delayed shipment, or finding out a product isn't available right at the final checkout screen, or dealing with an untrained agent who just doesn't have the data to solve your problem.
So measuring NPS right at that moment of peak frustration tells you where your integrated value chain needs the most urgent investment and redesign.
Precisely. And then finally, the ultimate success metric, the moment of pure advocacy, stage 10. When an old customer tries to introduce a new prospective customer to your brand.
Like a referral program.
Exactly. And if they run into friction, if the referral system is clunky or the sales team doesn't acknowledge the existing customer's loyalty, the organization is actively sabotaging its own growth.
So by tracking NPS across these 10 stages, you can map these granular sentiment scores directly onto specific operational investments. It moves the conversation from our NPS is low to
Our score is tanking at stage 5, the wait time, and stage 9, escalations. Therefore, we must integrate our real-time logistics data into our customer communication platform. That's how NPS stops being a vanity metric and becomes a driver of executive decision-making.
Okay, so we've established how to measure sentiment with NPS and diagnose those friction points. Now let's talk about the execution metric that keeps that drive shaft turning. Perfect order rate, or POR. The source is pretty critical of the narrow traditional definition of this. So what is the holistic definition of POR?
Traditionally, yeah, POR was just air-free orders shipped. It was a very internal, warehouse-centric metric. This integrated framework demands a much higher standard. It requires you to consider the entire life cycle of an order from the customer's perspective, not just your internal metrics.
So it's not just about what happens inside your four walls.
Not at all. We need excellence in 5 specific components to really achieve a holistic POR.
Let me challenge that for a second. The source advocates for near perfection here. But doesn't that relentless pursuit of the last 1% of perfection introduce a ton of cost and compromise the operating margin?
That is a critical question, and the answer really lies in the integration. In a siloed organization, yes, chasing perfection is incredibly costly, but in an integrated organization, a high POR actually lowers your cost to serve.
How so?
Because it dramatically reduces all the downstream costs, fewer service calls, less expensive returns logistics, less rework. The cost of a failed order is always, always higher than the initial cost of getting it right the first time.
That reframes the entire investment. Okay, so what are the 5 components of perfection for POR?
First, and most fundamental, is availability of products and services. Is the item actually ready to go? If your marketing or sales team promotes something that the supply chain hasn't accurately forecasted or produced, the POR fails before the order is even placed.
So that demands real-time, trustworthy inventory accuracy.
It does. And that visibility leads directly to component number 2,
Which is?
the crucial pre-purchase step, accuracy of available to promise. The system has to communicate the correct timeline, the correct stock level, the correct delivery date before the customer clicks buy.
This has to be a massive failure point for so many companies. The e-commerce system shows one thing, but the warehouse management system knows there's a 3-day delay.
And the order is already imperfect from the customer's point of view. It's a huge breach of trust that integration is designed to solve.
Okay, so accuracy before the sale. Third is the actual delivery.
On-time delivery. Simply, did we meet the commitment we communicated? It sounds basic, but it requires incredibly tight integration between the sales system, the logistics planning suite, and the delivery network to stay accurate, especially when there are disruptions.
And fourth deals with completeness, making sure everything is there.
Right. Order line fill rate. A perfect order means all the items the customer ordered are shipped together correctly. I mean, imagine ordering 3 things and only 2 show up. The order wasn't perfect, the customer is annoyed so their NPS drops, and now the company has to pay for a second shipment to send the 3rd item.
So that inefficiency hits both your POR and your profit margin.
Directly.
And the fifth element, this one is interesting. It ties the value chain directly back to customer retention and these modern operational requirements. It's efficient returns for sustainability. Why is the return process part of the perfect order rate?
Because the order life cycle doesn't end when the product shows up. It ends when the customer relationship is stabilized. Handling returns smoothly, giving them easy labels, processing refunds quickly, having efficient logistics to get the item back. It reduces friction, and it mitigates the damage from an imperfect product or a bad purchase decision.
And the sustainability piece.
Well, the modern value chain has to quickly assess that returned item. Can it be refurbished and resold? Can it be recycled? This ties directly into those sustainability goals we talked about earlier. And if the return process is a nightmare, that customer might never buy from you again, which just destroys their lifetime value.
So if the back office fails at any of these 5 stages, from having inaccurate inventory data all the way to a slow refund, the perfect order rate drops, and the customer's sentiment, their granular NPS, drops right along with it. It's that immediate feedback loop.
Which transitions us perfectly to the 3rd core KPI. This is the ultimate financial measure of success, customer lifetime value, or CLV. This measures the total long-term profit you get from a single customer relationship. This is where the whole integrated CX and value chain strategy really pays off with sustainable long-term results. And organizations focus on 4 key dimensions to structurally increase their CLV.
Let's get into those 4 financial dimensions, starting with frequency of purchase.
This is all about maximizing engagement. It means increasing the total number of times a customer buys from you over a period and increasing the number of things they buy in each transaction.
So you're trying to deepen the customer's reliance on your company, make you their go-to vendor for a broader range of needs.
Exactly. And that requires great product availability and a seamless buying experience, which of course comes from a high perfect order rate.
The second dimension focuses on the immediate profit of each sale, the value of sales per transaction. How do you maximize this without just, jacking up prices and making the customer feel exploited?
You do it intelligently using integrated data. There are 2 main methods. First, you can optimize the sales price, often using advanced dynamic pricing that's plugged right into your sales and e-commerce platform.
So pricing is competitive and it's real-time, based on demand and inventory.
Right. But second, and more importantly, is intelligent upselling and cross-selling.
And this is where the integration makes the cross-sell feel like a helpful service, not just a sleazy sales tactic.
That's the whole point. The system, because it's leveraging both the CRM history and the CDP behavioral data, shouldn't just know what you bought. It should know what fulfillment can deliver efficiently, what service issues you had last week, and what accessories are logically necessary for your existing purchase.
So the personalization makes the upsell feel genuinely helpful.
Yes. It increases the value of the transaction while at the same time improving your NPS.
Okay, the third dimension is absolutely crucial for long-term health. Profitability and margin, or what's often called the cost to serve. How does an integrated model lower the cost to serve beyond just traditional cost cutting?
It attacks inefficiency at its source. A streamlined, integrated system drastically reduces manual handoffs between departments, it eliminates order entry errors, it minimizes waste from bad forecasts, and it cuts down on all the costs that come from failed deliveries, service escalations, and complex returns.
So every single POR failure generates an expense that eats away at your margin.
Every single one. And innovative service models play a role here, too.
Like what?
Well, subscription services give you predictable revenue and margin. And efficient omnichannel self-service commerce drastically improves margin because an automated transaction is inherently cheaper than a high-touch agent interaction.
But that only works if the self-service portal is smart.
Right. The integration means that self-service portal has real-time access to back-office data, so the customer can actually solve their own problem without needing an expensive human to intervene.
And the final dimension closes the loop perfectly with our first KPI, NPS. It's the tenure of loyalty.
This is the sustained relationship component. It's the ultimate proof that the entire coin is working. The longer a customer stays with you, the higher their cumulative CLV. And that tenure is intrinsically linked to the great sentiment you measure with high NPS scores and the reliability you prove with high PR metrics. It is the financial validation that your integrated strategy is working for the long haul.
Okay, so we've defined the architecture, we've established the three core interlocking metrics, and we've diagnosed the friction points. Now, let's talk about the payoff, the concrete so what for the executive team. What are the high-value business outcomes when you successfully integrate CX and the value chain?
The outcomes are really transformational and they spread across the whole organization. But let's start with the most visible benefit, the customer experience outcomes themselves. By connecting your front and back office data in real time, you can finally deliver truly hyper-personalized omni-channel experiences.
Can you give us an example of what hyper-personalized really means in this context?
Sure, hyper-personalization means the system knows more than just that you bought item X last month. That's just CRM data. It also knows that item X is prone to needing replacement part Y within about 6 weeks. That's from your asset management data.
Okay.
And it knows that your shipping address is in a region that's currently experiencing a logistics delay because of bad weather. That's from your supply chain data.
I see where this is going.
So the marketing platform can then preemptively send you a targeted message offering that replacement part Y, but it can also include a free expedited shipping option as a proactive retention measure because it knows about the regional delay.
That's incredible. You're predicting needs, not just reacting to complaints. That has to drive huge satisfaction and loyalty.
It does, and internally you see massive gains in operational efficiency.
Right.
The automation of process flows across the entire coin is huge. Think about automated inventory checks while a sales quote is being built, or instant service ticket creation when a delivery is confirmed. This automation makes your sales and service reps dramatically more efficient.
So they can spend their time actually selling and advising, not just chasing down inventory data from another department.
Exactly. And that improves productivity and, this is crucial, it increases employee satisfaction. That leads to lower turnover and a much higher quality of customer interaction.
And moving over to the revenue side, this integration actually helps you make money faster.
It leads to significant sales cycle acceleration. When your marketing team is using clean data from a CDP, the sales team gets much higher quality leads. When your reps have accurate real-time pricing and inventory data from the value chain, their deal conversion rate improves because there are no last-minute surprises or broken promises.
Which all results in shorter sales cycles.
Shorter sales cycles and a faster lead-to-cash cycle time. The integration literally makes the money move faster from a customer's intention to realized revenue on your books.
All of this effectiveness, though, it relies entirely on one central element, which the white paper very wisely calls today's currency.
Data as currency. This is all about ensuring data harmonization and consistency master data management across the entire customer value chain.
So you need a single, consistent version of your master data.
Yeah.
One version of a customer record, one version of a product spec, one version of pricing, available everywhere.
Yes. Inaccurate, fragmented data is a massive hidden cost. If your sales team and your fulfillment team are operating on 2 different versions of available inventory, your perfect order rate is going to just plummet. Clean, centralized data is a massive competitive advantage.
And the final payoff, which is really about the people, the integrated system essentially transforms your sales and service teams into something more. They become trusted advisors.
That's the peak state. When your sales and service pros have comprehensive, real-time access to enterprise customer data, not just their local CRM history, but fulfillment status, billing history, maintenance schedules. They can provide informed, contextual interactions at every single touch point.
They stop being just order takers or complaint handlers.
Exactly. They become true experts in their customers' needs. And that deep expertise significantly increases loyalty and retention, which lowers competitive threats and directly results in accelerating your revenue growth.
Now, beyond all these operational benefits, there are major financial implications for the organization's IT strategy. You hear about these huge integration projects. Does this end up costing more than it saves?
It's a fair question, but the opposite is true in the long run. Implementing a truly integrated platform actually simplifies your overall IT environment.
How does it simplify it?
Because you have prepackaged integration flows and a common data model between your front office apps, like sales and service, and your back office apps, like supply chain and finance. This means the organization achieves a much lower cost heart of question, total cost of ownership, or TCO.
So fewer complex, custom-built integrations means less costly maintenance, less reliance on specialized consultants, and easier, faster upgrades.
That's it, exactly. This simplification accelerates your return on investment, your ROI, and it increases the net present value of your technology investments. The integrated platform stops being a high-maintenance cost center and becomes an inherent value driver for the business.
This all sounds like organizations are trying to achieve a synergistic effect, right? A total that's greater than the sum of its parts. The source even tries to capture this complexity with a mathematical concept it calls the tetrahedron effect model.
Yeah, and this model is really critical because it explains that exponential effect we mentioned at the start. So when you're calculating the total effect on the customer experience, you look at the investments and revenues from three strategic drivers.
Okay, what are they?
Increasing your CLV through things like subscriptions, then you have net new sales growth by expanding your market share, and accelerating top-line growth, maybe by entering new product segments.
So if we just add up the results of investing in those three areas, we get a nice incremental result. But where does the exponential part come from?
It comes from the fourth hidden factor in the model, synergy, the S factor. Synergy represents the exponential impact you get when all of those strategies align perfectly inside the integrated organization.
Well, let's make that concrete. What does that synergy actually look like?
Well, the synergy isn't just about selling more. It's about realizing that the seamlessness from a high perfect order rate, that perfect delivery, allows your service agent to stop spending 80% of their day handling "where is my order" calls. Instead, they can focus on value-add consulting and proactive cross-selling, which directly boosts your CLV.
So that cross-functional efficiency.
Right.
The fact that great logistics performance frees up sales time, which then boosts financial tenure. That's the S factor.
That is precisely it. It means the total effect of alignment is multiplicative, not additive. It's the reason the white paper suggests that in this model, 1 + 1 + 1 can equal 5, not 3. This successful linking of CX and the value chain to maximize CLV. This synergy is the key differentiator that provides a truly exponential, sustained business outcome.
So we did a deep dive into a really powerful strategic framework today. One that treats customer experience and the operational value chain not as separate sequential tasks, but as two inseparable sides of the same organizational coin.
And we learned that success really relies on rigorously balancing those three key metrics that measure the health of that coin: sentiment with NPS, execution with POR, and long-term financial health with CLV.
And moving forward, this idea of a unified one-office experience requires looking beyond those traditional functional silos.
It really does.
Yeah.
It means recognizing that every single action, from proactive marketing to precise logistics planning, accurate invoicing, and even a smooth return process, is part of the customer's ultimate decision to promote your brand.
And an entire system of perfect execution and flawless sentiment is completely dependent on clean, unified data. So our final provocative thought for you to mull over is this. If accurate customer data is truly today's currency, how many different conflicting currencies, different inconsistent versions of customer, product, or inventory data are currently circulating within your organization? And what is the specific, measurable, hidden cost of those inconsistent data sources on your ability to achieve a perfect order rate?
That gap right there between the customer promise and the operational reality, that is the cost of misalignment.
Find that friction, fix that misalignment, and you unlock exponential value. Thank you for joining us on The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.